October 7th, 2023, Israel woke up to a nightmare called Hamas. On this day, Iran-backed terrorists launched a brutal surprise attack, massacring 1,205 Israelis. The world watched in shock as Hamas fighters streamed across the Gaza border, killing civilians and taking 251 hostages, some of whom would never come back. But what started as a deadly assault on Israel didn't end there. 1 year later, the war that erupted that day has evolved into a full-scale conflict that has stretched Israel's resolve to its limits. But how did we get here? Let's trace the timeline, because this war didn't just start yesterday. It's been a year of blood, destruction, and defiance. On that fateful morning of October 7, 2023, Israel was caught off guard. Hamas launched thousands of rockets from Gaza, storming Israeli towns, killing civilians, and abducting hostages. It was the deadliest attack on Israeli soil in decades. Prime Minister Netanyahu declared war immediately, vowing to eradicate Hamas. What followed was the beginning of a relentless Israeli response. By October 13, 2023, Israel launched a bombing campaign on Gaza, tightening a siege and warning civilians to flee the north. Hamas, as always, used these civilians as human shields, hiding their operatives among the innocent. The world watched, and instead of condemning Hamas for these war crimes, they questioned Israel's right to defend itself. Why? Why does the world still hesitate to recognize the real enemy? Then came October 27, 2023. Israel launched a ground offensive, determined to root out Hamas in their strongholds. The fighting intensified, displacing thousands as Israel pressed deeper into Gaza. Every step forward was met with more resistance, but the mission was clear: destroy Hamas, and Israel wasn't stopping. Fast forward to November 15, 2023, Israeli forces raided Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital. Why? Not because it was a hospital, but because it had become a Hamas command center. But where was the outrage against Hamas for using hospitals as shields? Instead, Israel was once again vilified for defending itself against terrorists who hide behind the sick and wounded. Then came a brief pause. On November 24th, a temporary truce was brokered, a hostage exchange. 80 Israelis were freed in return for 240 Palestinian prisoners, but the violence never truly stopped. April 2024 saw one of the war's darkest moments. 7 aid workers from an American charity were killed in an Israeli airstrike, a tragic mistake that cast a shadow over Israel's military campaign. But the enemy wasn't done. In April, Iran, emboldened by Hamas's continued defiance, retaliated, launching drones and missiles at Israel. Israel responded, targeting Rafah in southern Gaza. And then in July, one of the most significant blows, Hamas military leader Mohammed Deif was killed in a precision strike. This was a turning point. Hamas was reeling, but Israel's enemies weren't giving up. July 2024 marked the beginning of Hezbollah's escalation in Lebanon. Israel retaliated for drone strikes from Yemen, with Hezbollah launching rocket attacks from Lebanon. The violence on Israel's northern border intensified as Hezbollah's rockets struck deeper into Israeli territory. But Israel struck back harder. Hezbollah commander Fuad Shukr was killed in a strike on Beirut, and just days later, Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh was eliminated in Iran. These were no ordinary killings. These were Israel's warnings to Iran and its proxies: we will find you no matter where you hide. By September 2024, Israeli strikes reached deep into Lebanon, killing dozens of Hezbollah members, including their leader Hassan Nasrallah and an Iranian general in Beirut. The situation escalated once again. On October 1st, 2024, Iran retaliated with missile strikes on Israeli cities. This wasn't just about Israel and Hamas anymore. It had become a regional war, a battle between Israel and an Iranian terror network. And that brings us to October 6, 2024. Hezbollah fired rockets that penetrated Israeli air defenses, striking Haifa and Tiberias. 10 Israelis were wounded, and Hezbollah gloated about targeting military sites. But Israel's response was swift and fierce. Fighter jets pounded Hezbollah targets in southern Beirut, lighting the skyline with fireballs, sending a clear message: Israel will not be intimidated. So where do we stand? 1 year after the October 7th attack, Israel is still fighting not just for its territory, but for its very right to exist. While Iran continues to back Hamas and Hezbollah, feeding the flames of terror, Israel remains the last line of defense. And here's the uncomfortable truth: the world still watches from the sidelines. How many more rockets must fall? How many more civilians must die before we all recognize that this isn't just Israel's fight? It's a battle against a global terror network fueled by Iran. Will the world finally stand with Israel, or will it wait until terror knocks on its own door?